Good evening, folks. This is Deb. So let's talk about this, okay? First of all, the collective bargaining agreement is pretty complicated. And if I were to get into the specifics of the collective bargaining agreement in this video, it could be over an hour long. And I really don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is put all of the detail on just exactly how things like contracts are handled, what a standard rookie contract is, how you can opt out of a contract and you can't opt out of a contract, and all of that stuff. I'm going to put in all of that detail in the description of this video so you can go to it. What I will tell you is the collective bargaining agreement does not expire until October 31st of this year. There is plenty of time to get a deal done, and rarely do they come to an agreement on the first offer in any given sport. Has it happened? Yes, it has. But it is not the norm, nor should it be, okay? Oddly enough, the salary isn't the biggest issue for the women. The bigger issue is a share of the revenue. And no matter what anybody says, the WNBA is losing money. It's projected to lose money as it moves forward for a while yet. And let me just remind everyone out there, including the gentleman who said that the WNBA players don't deserve a raise because they've lost north of $280 million so far. I'd like to remind everybody that the National Basketball Association, the men's game, before they became profitable, lost a grand total of $1.845 billion with a B dollars. So let's get that straight, okay? Before we come and take shots at the women's game. $1.845 billion before they turned a profit. Nobody suggested that the men don't get paid, do they? No, of course not. Of course not. There's plenty of misogyny to go around in this planet. And there's plenty of misogyny when it comes to men being the experts in the women's game. Sorry, but that can't be denied. So, women's sports in general is surging right now, okay? The growth is huge. The projection is for it to be $2.35 billion in 2025, and the WNBA owns a significant portion of the contribution to that growth. For example, the Valkyries, an expansion team, are already valued at $500 million, okay? Likewise, the value of the Lynx has gone up. The value of the Liberty has gone up. The offer made by the Boston group to buy the Connecticut Sun at $325 million was the largest offer made to purchase an existing team. So clearly, some people see the value in women's sports. So all women want is so that their share of the revenue is not stagnant over the course of the collective bargaining agreement. In other words, if it surges again, that it slides up. I don't have a problem with that. And you can read exactly what the players want out of the collective bargaining agreement. Also, if you go to the description, I will make sure that that is in there as well. Now, I don't mind having discussions in our group, okay? I don't. But I am not going to entertain pot shots at people or misogyny in these groups. It's not welcome here, okay? I don't really care what they do on other sites. In fact, let me tell you something. I have been over there to try to have discussions. And when I post my commentary, and I'm never disrespectful, I was met one time by a gentleman who offered me if I got off that site, he would pay me to clean his house. And I had one other person suggest that maybe I should be in the kitchen making cookies. There are plenty of misogynistic men making commentary about women's sports on a daily basis. They are not welcome on this group's community pages. None, okay? So, just as long as that's clear, what I will do is hide you from the pages. You can keep typing all you want. You can air out your dirty laundry. You can get it all off your chest, but you'll never see it. None of the comments will be visible. I don't have any problem doing that. That kind of insulting stuff is not welcome in this community. And by the way, I have seen some of the other guys who run YouTube channels refuse to engage with racists, and they are out there as well. So, here's where we are. The next game is tomorrow, August 17th, 1 o'clock against the Connecticut Sun in Connecticut at the Mohegan Sun Arena. After that, the next game will be Friday, August 27th at 7:30 p.m. against the Lynx. And then they will play the Lynx again on the 24th. I believe it's home and away. What was stated by Stephanie White was that she hopes that Caitlin Clark is back at practice with her teammates the week of the 22nd. And then we will see where she stands after she gets back into practice and see how she fares physically in determining when she might return to the basketball court. The season does not end until September 9th. There is plenty of time to get her back on the basketball court. The playoffs do not begin until September 14th. So for the people out there who are, and I know there was one commenter that Caitlin Clark is soft. There is a general ignorance about what groin injuries are. Caitlin Clark has been coming back and playing injured since the very first injury. We know that because she admitted she rushed herself back because she felt the responsibility to play. A grade 1 groin strain can keep people out for up to 3 weeks. She has been out a month. Because they said they were going to take this with an abundance of caution to ensure her long-term health, so this doesn't become a chronic problem. And that's exactly what they're doing. Because they know Caitlin Clark is the heart and soul of the Fever team. And Caitlin Clark knows that she wants to have a long career. So she's going to ensure that that is done. We don't need to be telling her to sit out the season. She will be telling us if that's what she needs to do. She has no intention of sitting out the season to teach the Fever and the WNBA a lesson. I'm afraid that Caitlin Clark doesn't think like that. The fans do, but she doesn't. Okay? Now, I will put in all of the detail in the description on groin injuries as well. And I like to remind people of something else. Nobody was calling Michael Jordan soft when he missed 64 games in his second season. Nobody was calling Michael Jordan soft when he retired from the NBA twice for various reasons. Nobody's out there calling Nafisa Collier soft because she has an ankle injury that started at the beginning of August and there's no timetable for her return. And no one's calling Angel Reese soft because she's got a back injury and there's no timetable for her return either. Because none of this stuff is cut and dry. And finally, Stephanie White, who I really don't like as a coach. And, you know, I don't think she's the right coach for this team. But let me remind you of something. She's on a one-year contract, as are every single player that was brought in. Nobody made a long-term commitment to these players. Sydney Colson, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, all of them a one-year contract. And I suspect that we will see movement in the offseason again. I think the only player that should get a contract from the Fever is Sophie Cunningham. I think Sophie Cunningham needs to come back and be a guard for the Indiana Fever on a contract at the end of the season. I think that's what they should do. Whether they do or not is another story, but that's my take, and I think that she deserves it. I think she has proved her worth. The others I'm not so sure of. Aaliyah Boston, she will be here. Kelsey Mitchell, she will be here. And Caitlin Clark is signed with the Fever through 2027. She will be here because Caitlin Clark wants to play for the Indiana Fever. Whether Stephanie White is here after this year, I don't know. I don't think that's cast in stone. DeWanna Bonner was a bust. Sydney Colson, I feel really bad for because I really like Sydney Colson, but she's got a torn ACL and she's in her mid-30s, and who knows if she even comes back. Nobody knows that right now. Do I believe she can come back? I believe she can come back, but, you know, that's a tough injury to come back from the older you get. So we'll see what happens with Sydney Colson. And I'd like to remind everybody that both Ari McDonald and Chloe Bibby were unemployed before they were signed by the Fever. So, honestly, Brianna Turner, Chloe Bibby, Ari McDonald, and the two new guards, I don't know that they're even here next year. I think there's going to be some major movement in the offseason. So, before I close, one other comment that was made on the site about Stephanie White abusing drugs because what's with her sniffles? One person said, what's with her sniffles? Does she have allergies? And right away, somebody piped up that they know what drug abuse looks like, and it's pretty obvious. Well, you know what? That's a bunch of horsepucky, okay? That's just baloney. You're going to tell me you're watching somebody through a television set giving a press conference and you can diagnose them as being a drug abuser. Amazing. The utter gall some people actually have. You know what? You don't like Stephanie White as a coach? That's fine. I don't like Stephanie White as a coach. We don't need to make stuff up out of whole cloth to make her any worse than she already is. Seriously. So that's where we are, okay? And I'm going to say this. People who make comments like, why are we obsessing over Caitlin Clark coming back? It's embarrassing. It's sports, okay? It's sports. I can think of 15 to 20 more things that are going on in the United States right now that are really embarrassing. That is not one of them. I would not even put that on a list. That's what sports is. For the benefit of all those who may not have known, the name of the group is Unapologetically Caitlin. And for those of you who haven't read the description of the group, I suggest that you do. Then you'll know why we are why we are. Okay, call it a fanzine. That's what this is. I am an Indiana Fever fan. I like the team. It's been faced with a lot of misfortune this year. Okay? It's been winning in spite of that misfortune. And the part of that misfortune is I don't think she's a very good coach at the head of this team. And they have played without their heart and soul and the engine that makes them run. There are certainly other teams in this league who have been at full strength all year who can't win. While I'm not happy with the way the team loses, I'm not like Stephanie White. I'm not blaming the players 100%. I do not think her coaching is very good. I think the Indiana Fever has shown a lot of resilience in the face of this adversity. And it started with DeWanna Bonner. Since then, they have lost Caitlin Clark, Sydney Colson, and Ari McDonald. Two of them to season-ending injuries, and one is slow coming back for good reason. Read the information on groin pulls that I put in the description, and maybe you'll understand that. And you know something? Let me take this one step further. If it turns out that she practices with the team and is not ready to come back and sits out the rest of the season, so be it. We look forward to the next season with her at full strength. That's what we do. That's what people do when there is injury. That's what the Indiana Pacers are doing right now with Tyrese Halliburton. That's what the Bulls did when Michael Jordan was injured for 64 games. So that's it, folks. Tomorrow, I will be back, and we will be talking about some other things, like how Caitlin Clark is inspiring young girls to think about playing professional basketball when they grow up. And young girls who are now playing in leagues and thinking about going to college, playing in college, and trying to break Caitlin Clark's records. I think that's a great thing. And this is why I think women's sports deserve support. I will talk to you guys later.